Hello, hello, and welcome to Fine, I'll Talk About It, the podcast where we say the quiet parts out loud. Real talk, straight to the point, no fake positivity. I'm your host, Danielle Young, and today I'm joined by Lina Patel. Lina is a wellness ambassador specializing in yoga, meditation, breathwork, and holistic well being, supporting overworked professionals to calm their nervous system, restore balance, and feel steady again. On today's episode, we are talking about burnout, self care, and how yoga and simple wellness strategies can help people, especially women, manage stress, recenter themselves, and recover from challenging life experiences. Lena, welcome to Fine, I'll Talk About It.
Wow, thank you for having me, Danielle.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. This is an important subject because I feel like, especially right now, dealing with burnout and nervous system reset and all of that good stuff, wellness, our mental well being, our physical well being is so important. So, why don't we start off with you just telling us a little bit about you and how you got into this work?
Okay, I think it all started when I was very young, about 4 years old, I had a near death experience. And my mum was a very avid Sai Baba devotee, and that was her then God. And as I grew older, I started learning about spirituality and wellness. And my parents decided to move to the States. And I had changed so many schools. I'd seen, it's quite lonely moving from one place to another until my parents found a place that they want to do business. They found a hotel. But in the end, it didn't work out. They lost all their money. We came back to the UK. Both of them were chefs. So they were just about getting back on their feet. And then my dad got diagnosed with cancer. And after 2 years of try diagnosis, hospital appointments, and in the end, being in a hospice for the last 6 years of his life, I was left very traumatized and didn't know what wellness was really. But my real wellness journey started when I myself was fired from a job. And I was so lost because I had all this thing about money, but I actually didn't know how I was going to pay off this debt that my dad, he passed away and there was a huge debt and it fell on me to on the financial well-being. And it was really, really tough. And I had no idea how to navigate this. And when they fired me, I hit rock bottom. And then my friends of ours, he was a healer and he just gave me 5 minutes of healing. And he was a Sai Baba devotee as well. He just held my hand and I'm not sure what he did, but I was just in surrender. And as I surrendered that night, because I'd hit rock bottom, I just said to God or whatever, I just said out loud, I'm letting this go and tomorrow I might be dead. Actually, I didn't even think I was going to wake up because for me, as I was growing up and being in not having so much money and my father passing, my focus was on paying this debt. And then when I got fired, I had done law and started working for a law firm and they fired me. I had no idea how I was going to pay this debt off. And when I got this healing the next day, something shifted for me in a big way. And that's when I started looking at wellness in a different way. And I found some answers from reading books. And then my family and I, my husband and my two children, we moved to Indonesia. And by that time, I had done so much of holistic therapy, complementary therapy, they call it, reflexology. I became a Reiki master, learned about nutrition, learned so much. And I had a practice also in Hampstead in London. But when my children came along, I gave that up, became a mum.
Mm.
But when I moved to Indonesia, I had no idea what I was going to do. I went there to support my husband's dream because as you go on this wellness journey, you learn about manifesting and you think everything is a possibility. But I myself didn't know what I was going to do, and started doing trampolining. I fell off this trampoline. My ankle was like this big,
Mm.
and I did 30 days of yoga. I combined my knowledge of all this holistic therapy and doing yoga for 30 days every day, and my ankle healed. And then my yoga teacher and I told her my journey and they said, this is what I've done. I just started writing my blog. And she goes, you need to teach meditation. Not that I'd done meditation, but the way I was talking, she saw something and she organized for me to teach meditation. And from there came students who wanted to learn more. And then they wanted me to become their mentor. And I had a regular flow of students I would teach yoga to, that I would mentor. And, it just became this beautiful journey of wellness. Now, I'm not saying that things don't happen, but when things happen, wellness means how to have those simple strategies that you can help yourself, because we are all very, very different. And I learned this in yoga, and not in the classes, actually, it was my very last teacher training. And she was saying, we are all different. And you understand the concept that we are all different. But I didn't understand it until the very last day, until she showed us pictures of all of us doing these postures, but we all look different. And as I've been teaching, and I'm learning, we are all very, very different. No one thing will work for one person.
Yep.
They're all suggestions and they're all strategies that you can use in your life. But one thing I do know is our nervous system takes a pounding when we don't take care of ourselves. Now, does this mean we have to do hours and hours of yoga and meditation? And no, it is finding the things that work for you. Maybe it's not yoga, maybe it's going for a walk, maybe it's going dancing, maybe it's finding something that when you feel good, let's face it, when we all feel good, we feel motivated, we have more energy. So, what is the strategy that is going to work for all of us? And what I found was breath,
Mm.
the breathing. When you breathe a certain way, it helps to relax the body, helps to quieten the mind. Now, why do we want to quieten the mind? Because all around us is noise. Even when we feel stuck, we might look on the internet, we might ask somebody, but we're not actually going within ourselves to question, what's the right thing for me? Because if you really get quiet, the answer comes. How? When you ask a question, when you get quiet, the right person comes along, or you might open a book, or you might switch your TV on, and there might be a statement that just says something, and you're like, I'm going to try that. But it's about breathing in a way that works for your body, moving in a way that works for your body, quietening the mind that helps the body to relax. And when teach my students, the first thing I always teach or talk about if there's a new student, explain the principles of yoga. And that is the 8 sides, how we breathe, how we move, how we are with ourselves, how we are with our environment, and really getting quiet to see what's going on inside when you check in with yourself. And as I've started teaching that to my students in my classes, one of them, just after 4 months of coming to my class, came off his blood pressure medicine after 20 years.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's because he tuned into what works for him. And it's funny, it was his wife who came to my class. She goes, I really want my husband to come to your class. And I like, when he's ready, why don't you show him? And I didn't even know that he was coming to my class. In fact, I didn't even know the daughter was coming to my class. She came to thank me after the class saying, thank you so much. And I said, oh, you're very welcome. And she said, no, you don't understand. That's my husband. And he's come off his blood pressure medicine. And, she was just happy. And in his testimony, he said he's just a different person. So it's finding what works for you. And the right thing is different for everybody. No one thing fits one person,
Yeah.
but you have to get quiet. And that's what happened to me. I got quiet. Now, I'm not saying my life is all sunshine and roses, but I do know when it's not. I use all these tools.
Mm.
And so that's what I would like to teach people is get quiet, find what works for you. And I promise you, it won't get boring when you get quiet. That's a lot of question. That's one of the questions I get. Well, if I stop thinking and if my mind is quiet, won't life become boring? And I've said,
Yeah.
actually, it'll become amazing because you
Yeah.
start manifesting the life you want, because when you're quiet and you put that thought in, you'll be amazed how quick you start attracting the right people and the right situations. So for me, I think I wouldn't say the journey has been easy. What journey is when you've gone through some sort of trauma? I would say that all the tools that I have and I use them is the thing I teach people, and to see whether it works for them, they get to decide, not me, not anyone. They get to decide, actually, I like this and I want to apply it in my life.
Mhm.
And then when they start applying one small thing, then it's another, and then it's another. And then they've got like a little strategy that they can use anytime, anywhere. Because that's what it's about, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
finding those simple strategies. And even initially, it's like a baby walking. A baby doesn't walk straight away. It
Right.
crawls and it climbs and it falls. And people tend to beat themselves up because maybe they haven't got the strategy down, or, it's not working. And I always say, well, if that's not working, you got to find something else, and then something else and something else, and something will work. Keep going, have faith. Remember your why you're doing what you're doing. And I think if everybody just took care of themselves, and it's not selfish, we would be much kinder to each other.
Absolutely.
We'd have love and kindness, and that anger that we have, the hatred that we have, the, you know, there's no resolution. But when we find that calm between, the calm that's within us, everything becomes a possibility.
Yes. Yeah. I totally believe that. I am also a yoga teacher, and yoga is what saved me from domestic violence. That's how my journey started, was using yoga. And in this really small town I grew up in, I didn't know what yoga was, but a friend had handed me a tape and said, I'm dating myself, like a VHS tape, and said, "Here, you should do yoga." I'm like, "What is this?" And I started doing it, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I can sit and I can breathe. I can just be." And that was the first time that I realized I wasn't breathing. And people hear the word yoga and they think you have to twist yourself in, to like a pretzel like shape. And it's like, no, there are 8 limbs of yoga. The postures is only one. That's only one limb of
Very
yoga.
small.
Yeah. And I always tell people, if you can breathe, you can do yoga.
Yes.
If you're breathing, you can absolutely do yoga. It's for everybody. It's literally for everybody. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what size you are. It doesn't matter. And I wish more people understood that.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah. And
such an amazing tool to use for healing and to get quiet. And a lot of people don't want to get quiet.
no,
They're
they don't
afraid.
like it.
I don't wanna know what's in there. I don't wanna know what happens when I get quiet. I'm not used to being quiet. I'm used to being
Yes.
loud and, on the go all the time. And for them, just the thought of sitting in silence is terrifying.
Yes. They don't want to face what's really there. I mean, I know for myself, I used to be, when I twisted my ankle, I started learning about yoga. I'd be the first one in front of the mirror. And then when I started doing teacher training, you realize that's not what yoga is. There's no such thing as doing the pose properly. You have to, I mean, when you're moving your body, you have to check in with yourself if it feels right or not. And that's one of the ways you do get quiet, to check in. And I think the mat, I always say to my students, is like your home. And then what you do on the mat, how you're thinking, how you're moving, is how you live your life. And when you actually see, if you're one of these that's huffing and puffing, or one of these that looks in the mirror and tries, you know, that's what you do in your life. Is that how you wanna live your life? And if that's how you want to do it, that's great. But when you really get to look at yourself, and I really loved where I was teaching, they'd have these big mirrors, and I get them to look at themselves at the beginning of the class, and I like always say, "I know, on a Sunday morning, who really wants to look at themselves in the mirror?" Because let's face it, nobody wants to do that. And I'd say just smile, because when you smile, the world will smile back at you. When you love yourself, and don't, I know it's silly to say, I love you, but when you really feel that love, isn't it delicious? How long does it take? It takes a few seconds to smile and to send love to yourself and to breathe in a way that works for your body.
Yeah.
That is a form of yoga. There's many parts to yoga that we can do off the mat, not necessarily go to a yoga class and, you know, whatever. It is finding that right thing. And I think when you get quiet, you will attract the right people and you will attract the right message that is there for you. And sometimes when things are not sunshine and roses, and when you start using these tools, you can feel calmer really quickly.
Yeah.
You feel good within yourself. And let's face it, we're living our life to feel good, but we think it's out there in a person, in a thing. But breathing and just nurturing and taking care of yourself, even putting some music on and dancing while you're breathing in a way, and you can change your state in like minutes,
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
And
And
if you're
breathing,
going into a meeting or sitting an exam or whatever it is, having that difficult conversation with yourself, centering yourself can help.
yeah, absolutely. And breathing lets your nervous system know that everything's good.
Yeah.
It sends the signal that, hey, you're safe. You know,
So,
yeah, you're safe. Nothing's chasing you right now. You can just be here. You can breathe. It's okay. We're safe. We're good.
okay. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't know how to breathe.
No.
I mean, we're in such a race now. I mean, I feel like everyone is so busy now that we have more distractions. We have more things to do. We have more on our plate, and people just don't stop and breathe. And they don't even think about it. They're just on autopilot.
Yeah. And I think most people don't know the impact the nervous system has on the body, because it's your communication system and it's the system that shows you're safe or not safe. And it goes back to the caveman era where you had to go and survive, really. You
Mm,
had to go and kill and you had to live in a cave and whatever it was. And we still think like that even though we're in a house, we're protected, we're whatever it is, but we still think like that. So what happens is it's a dog eat dog world. People are fighting each other when you can work together.
yeah,
And it's a program that we can deprogram. And that's another thing with breath and getting quiet is you become an observer and you see, oh my God, I'm doing that thing again. I'm not breathing, or I'm in fight or flight where you either fight or you flight, you run away.
yep,
And then you can breathe and you like bring back your nervous system, calm it down. And you're like, okay, I don't have to live like that anymore.
yeah,
And it's thinking differently. And it's the simplest thing. It's not rocket science.
yeah,
People make it like, oh, you've got to, and I mean, nobody has hours and hours to meditate, really.
right,
Nobody has hours and hours to even maybe go to a yoga class or whatever. But just by moving your body for a few minutes, maybe 3 minutes of breathing, 3 minutes of moving, Surya Namaskar or something like that, and just 1 minute of just closing your eyes and starting your day like that, little changes have a big impact.
yeah.
I know that more. I mean, I think I have more energy now than I did when I was in my 20s,
Isn't that
isn't it?
amazing?
We think differently. Yeah. And obviously, my body has changed, and we don't need to be picture perfect. As long as we feel well in ourselves. And, people say to me, I know I say to them, I'm a wellness ambassador. What does that even mean? And it's finding the thing that makes you well, inside, outside, doing thing that works for you,
Yeah,
not everyone else, because we're all different. And what works for one person is not going to work for another person, right? But
right,
breathing, oxygen is free, yet we don't use it efficiently. So our bodies can't use it efficiently. I mean, just by deep breathing, you oxygenate and you're nourishing your organs, which is going to make them more efficient and work better for your body, which means glowing skin, means more energy. More energy. When you have more energy, you feel more motivated to go and do things, go out there. And when you're in that state, I know you can attract the right people, the right situations. You can turn one moment where you think nothing's working, and just by changing your focus, your breath, the way you move your body, you can change your energy. Everything is energy. It all starts with a thought. The more you have that thought becomes a belief. The more you have that belief, it can become a story, your identity. And when that happens, we're so hell bent on sticking to our story. We think we can't change it. It's not fact. It's just a story we tell. I know I was one of those about money
Mm.
because of the trauma about the money and not having money. And I know I brought it into my marriage and a lot of, and then when you change it, I can laugh about it now. But I was so serious. I mean, another thing was I could never talk about my dad's death because I watched him die and he was in a hospice. It wasn't pleasant. And I just would just start crying because I had no tools. But when my mum passed away 2 years ago, I was not tearful. I was very much in peace because when I saw her pass, I wasn't even there. But when I got to the hospital, I just saw this beautiful light and I felt, what a beautiful gift that she has given me. And the realization that there's no such thing as death. Now that's going a bit deep, but I felt like I was in the presence of something so divine. I was speechless.
That's
Whereas I know
beautiful.
my siblings, they were mortified, they were crying, and I was crying, but I just felt this sense of divinity that I thought, oh my God, my mom just gave me this beautiful gift. Whereas when my dad passed, it was very different.
Yeah.
So these tools not only give you a way of living your life, but they really can help. Like you say, yoga saved you. I would say it saved my life as well. It's depending on how you apply those strategies, those tools. And it is actually finding the right ones to help you when you do feel burnt out, when you feel exhausted, when you feel I have to keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
Instead of realizing, hang on a minute, I need to pause. Do you need to pause for hours and hours? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a few minutes once you have a practice. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be really, really simple. Simple as taking a minute to breathe for yourself. That's it. And checking in with yourself.
Yeah. I I mean, I do that now. If I'm starting to feel my anxiety come up, I put my hand on my heart and I just say, "Okay, what do I need right now?" And then I just sit and just take a breath and listen. And that's the thing is it took me a minute to be able to listen because I would just put my hand on my heart and I go, "Okay, now what?" And now I'm like, "Okay, breathe. What do I need?" And then
Yeah.
listen. And I teach this to my clients as well. It's not about rushing healing. It's not about because there's no timeline on it.
No.
You know, healing is not linear. And like you said, it's not a one size fits all. And, certain modalities worked for me and other modalities, it was like, no, this is doing nothing. But I found that the more that I really just slowed down and took some time for myself and I went to those power yoga classes and all that stuff. And for me, that's cardio. It's not actually yoga. And I will die on that hill. But, for me, yoga is more about reconnecting within and then moving from that alignment.
Yes.
And when we're not doing that, our bodies just don't know what to do. We
Yeah.
go into that, okay, now what? That and it does turn into fight or flight. And people don't understand too, when you're in fight or flight all the time, your body pays the price.
Yeah.
Autoimmune disorders, inflammation, cortisol problems, adrenal problems. I mean, there's a whole host of problems that go on when you stay in that state.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's finding that thing that works for you. And like you said you breathe, you check in with yourself. How many of us it's not taught in schools? I know for sure my parents didn't know. Nobody teaches us this.
Mm,
Check in with yourself. See what is working for you. Is that breath? Can you go deeper? Can you just take a minute for yourself? And some people think it can't be that simple as well.
yeah,
But it is that simple. It is about, because let's face it, if we don't care for ourselves, if we don't love ourselves, that's going a bit deep, but how can we even like another person, another human
right.
being?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't
We
think that's
we
too
we
deep.
say we do. And this is the first thing I realized about myself. Because obviously, I'd done all this holistic therapy, and but when I started doing this work and I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I'm actually not a very nice person because I actually do judge people. And I am doing this. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to beat myself over it because I didn't know that I didn't even know that I was doing this in the first place. Most people don't know that they're doing this. We don't know. And because everything is just energetic, we're doing it to other people as well. We judge them, they judge us.
Hmm.
But imagine, and this, imagine that if we just concentrated on us and were loving and kind to us, and then we saw somebody else and we just sent them love and light, even if they sent all these horrifying thoughts or whatever they're thinking, it have no impact on us whatsoever. It's a bit like I was speaking to this elderly community, Gujarati community, and I say, do you ever feel like when you meet someone for the first time, something is just not right about them? And they're like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, do you know that's because you're feeling their energy? They don't even need to say anything, but you're just the vibe that's coming off them. Now imagine this vibe is coming off like loads of people, and not just people, the things, the TV programs that we're watching, working on our laptop. We're doing so many of these things. Imagine there's so much going on. We're bombarded. But
Hmm.
imagine if you took a breath and you just got quiet in your mind, these things will not even affect you.
Yeah.
And that does take practice. And that practice can start with a deep breathing exercise, some form of meditation where you're just quietening the mind, because that's what meditation is. It's about you go inward and you're checking in with yourself when you put your hand in your heart, like you do.
Hmm.
And you just, what do I need right now? If everybody just spent a few minutes doing that every single day or every time in the day they felt something's not right or whatever it is, you'd be centered.
Yeah.
And these people don't even come in your vicinity because your energies are not matching.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a shield. They just like I have a shield and they just get repelled, like bounced off. Their
Yeah,
energy is just like, nope, not today. It just kind of bounces back to
exactly.
them.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it's learning how to do that. And that's why I created the breath work. It was actually one of my students. She said, do you know the breathing exercises you teach? I use them in a meeting before I go into a meeting. And then another student gave me a testimony. I use these exercises, on a Sunday morning. It's really great. I use them. I'm a teacher. I use them in the classroom. She may be teaching them, to her students. So it's like a ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, what can I teach that is so simple that people can just do any moment?
Yeah.
3 minutes a day. That's what it's called, the 3 minute reset. 3 minutes a day. If people started doing that for themselves, then how would they feel? And it takes 21 days for a habit to form. So doing this for 21 days, because let's face it, everybody's got 3 minutes a day. If you haven't,
Yeah.
then there's a problem.
Right.
So, like,
Yeah.
you can
You
in the bathroom,
breathing.
in the shower. Yeah, exactly. You're not breathing, not breathing. Yeah, and I just wanted to create something so simple that people could just do in their life. And then I'm the first Friday, everyone. I've just started teaching a mini meditation with a mini yoga nidra, just 20 to 30 minutes. Just get people to start their weekends right. Just,
Yeah.
it's free, just to teach them that, oh, you can use these in your life as well. So it's like little changes, big impact.
Yeah. And for those
Mhm.
of you listening, Yoga Nidra is a meditative type of yoga. It's not actually poses. You're laying down, you're listening to spoken words. It's sleep. It's a sleep-based yoga.
Yeah. Yogic sleep. What
Yeah.
it's called. And I think also as I went on my journey learning about nutrition and alkalizing and I mean, I used to feel sick all the time and I didn't know what it was and it was the nutrition, eating right as well. And so doing this for 10 days and resetting your body's biology and then introducing foods that work or not work because your body will always give you that feedback.
Yeah.
And you can check as well. You can do it like a kinesiology test. You need two people for this, where you just put your arm out and you get the other person to test, and you ask the body a question, and you can ask a true question. Tell the person to hold their arm like they're really, really strong. If it's a true question, a true answer, the hand will not go down. And then you ask a false question, and no matter how strong you hold your hand, it will come down.
Mm.
So the body gives you feedback if this food is good for you or not good for you. If some cosmetics are good for you or not good for you. You
Hmm.
can actually test. It's a kinesiology test. I can't remember the actual name, but people can do a search on it. And it's basically just putting your arm out and you can test.
Okay.
So you can do all sorts of things, doesn't cost a lot of money, and your body will give you feedback. So having something breath work, then having something for sleep and a meditation and nutrition. It's like you can start doing these things. Doesn't take a lot of time. And once you start doing, that's what I have found was doing these little things made a huge difference in my life.
Yeah.
And you get feedback from the people in your life too when you're not being the yoga teacher. I've been told my children many a time, Mom, but you do yoga, Mom, you do meditation. I'm like, yeah, that's why I do yoga. That's why I do meditation
Yep.
because it helps me to be a better mom to you, right?
Yeah. Yep. For sure. It definitely helps you like show up in a better state of mind.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's made me a better human being. And I think my children have taught me how to be unconditional love. And yoga's taught me strategies on how to do that for them.
Mm.
They may not agree with me when I'm saying this because I'm mum,
Right.
but I think I'm so grateful to them, Daniel, because really they have taught me unconditional love.
Yeah.
Before then, I thought I was, but I know, honest, I wasn't. I wasn't.
Yeah.
And they give me feedback all the time. And, it's also taught me to apologize. Even though I'm mum
Yeah.
and I'm older, doesn't mean I know better. Doesn't mean I know what's right for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
very
and when they say, Mom, you do yoga, when I say I'm also a human being, I'm also a person that makes mistakes. Not intentionally, but I do. And it shows them that I'm human and it also shows them to apologize
yeah.
because we're not
Yeah, we're not. And, I used to take my kids to yoga with me. My son, especially. My daughter was never big on yoga, but my son used to go with me all the time. And I would do yoga nidra and stuff at home with them. I would be the one
Yeah.
facilitating. And when my son had a concussion, he was about, how old was he? 6 or 7. And I would do yoga nidra with him every night. And it did help him recover from his concussion and his memory. And, people don't understand that there is actually science behind this stuff.
Yes. Yes.
And it is actually scientifically proven that yoga and yoga nidra can, especially yoga nidra, can help with, regulating certain things in the brain. And that's what is so powerful about it. And that's why I'm glad you're on here, like helping me spread the word about yoga because I've been talking about it or people are tired of hearing me talk about it. Like, yeah, we get it. You love yoga. And it's like, well, it's not that I love yoga, it's that it works.
Yes. Yes.
It works.
Yes. Yes.
And I wish more people would take advantage.
Yes. Yes. And also, I would say to the listeners is when you see those people on social media that are doing these amazing postures, that is one part of yoga, but that is not all of yoga. It took
Right.
me 2 years just to do a headstand.
Yeah.
Did I do it for the headstand? No. In fact, I did it. I sprained my ankle. I didn't know. I did yoga when I was in the UK, but I was looking for a more natural way to help. I couldn't walk on the ankle, I couldn't work out. So I did 30 days of yoga. And that's where I discovered teaching meditation and do. But the true purpose of yoga is union with self. And that means union with you. What works for you? Maybe going to a yoga class and doing a physical posture. Maybe that's not for you, but maybe the breathing, the meditation, moving your body in a way that works for you. So it could be dancing, it could be hiking, it could be even going for a walk in nature.
Yeah.
But it's no one size fits all,
Right.
and it's finding so don't be afraid. I know people that have gone to yoga classes, it's not explained to them what yoga is. They're like pushed, they're touched. Now, people would say teachers can touch students, and I used to agree with that to a point, but when I did my very last teacher training, my teacher said, and she showed it on an example on a student, downward dog, just having your hands and feet in a triangle, you look like a triangle. Now, if you look at the picture, it's this perfect. This lady could not do it. She had to have her arms out wide and her legs wide. And the moment my teacher went to correct her, she was just trying to show us this lady was in pain.
Yeah.
So I say never allow a yoga teacher to correct you, no matter what their intention is,
Yeah.
because as we get older, our skeleton forms and our skeleton may not be able to do every posture. There are postures that do the same function. So, a posture or a pose in yoga has two functions. This is what I've been taught. It's either to stretch or strengthen. That's it. Not fancy looking, no nothing. So please, 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 when you go to a class, as long as you feel a stretch in the opposite direction that you're moving, the pose is doing its job.
Yeah. And that's why I
And to
wish that more teachers
strengthen,
would
yeah,
offer modifications because I've been to
that's it.
some yeah, I've been to some classes and I'm like, "Okay, so you're not offering any modifications for anyone in this class.
Right.
None of us in here are the same body type, the same body shape, the same age, like this
No,
we're not clones. Like every yoga teacher should be offering
modification.
modifications.
Yes,
And if you're not, why aren't you?"
yes, exactly. And my teacher, the very last teacher, she said to me, students who paid thousands of pounds for courses and they'd had their studios would argue with her on this point. And I didn't get it till the very last day until I saw all these pictures of us all different. And me, I was the only person in the class that had my arms a certain way. Everybody else had the arms the other way. So I can do certain poses and not others because of the way my skeleton has formed.
Yeah.
So if a teacher came and corrected me, I would cause injury. So the modification, if it's offered or not, listen to your body. And
Right.
if you feel that you can go further. And if you can't that day, just do what feels good for you. Because as long as you're stretching, you're breathing, you're moving your body in a way that works for you, it's doing its job.
Well, and you showed up for yourself.
Exactly. Self
Yeah.
care, self kindness.
Yeah. It's not about getting the poses right.
No.
There is no right or wrong. And I think a lot of people have that mentality who go to yoga class. So I have to do this the right way. No,
Yes.
it's just the way that your body allows. And some
Yes.
days you're going to show up differently than others. And that doesn't mean that,
Anything.
you're doing bad or
No.
you're doing good, or it's just the way
No.
you show up that.
Yeah. Every day is different.
Right. Like,
I know, like right now, beginning of December, I fell. I lost balance, I fell, and I had slipped and fallen before and I was fine. But when I was working out at home, my knee gave way and all of the weight went onto one foot. Now I have to start again on a foundational level to a class, and I literally cannot do the poses. I have to lift my leg. Now, I've been doing wellness yoga, like yoga for like 10, 11 years. I have to start from the beginning, and that's okay.
yeah,
I am so thankful, Daniel, I can walk
yeah,
because I wasn't able to walk for so many days. And I'm so thankful. Oh my God, I get to walk and I get to practice. I'm breathing, I'm moving. I'm so thankful.
yeah,
And I will get there again. Not about perfection, it's about what works for your body. So please, please, please do find a teacher that works for you because when you do, miracles can happen for you.
yeah, absolutely. And there's days that I can just lay on my mat. There's days that my body just doesn't want to cooperate and doesn't want to even get into a pose. And I just lay on my mat in Shavasana and just breathe. Like, okay, I'm able to be on my mat, which my mat's my home. My mat is my safe place. Like that
Yeah.
is if I am feeling totally out of control, I roll out my mat and just lay down on it. And that's me coming back home to myself because that's where I know that I'm safest.
And isn't that a beautiful thing of self love,
Yeah.
self kindness? You're not mad at yourself. You're just
No.
taking care of you. There's nothing you need to do. It's
Yeah.
really simple. It's not rocket science. You're
Right.
just taking a moment for yourself and saying, I've done enough for today.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't need to push. I don't need to force myself to do anything. I can just be.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
That's
isn't it
powerful.
amazing that you can just be with your own self, your own company? Because a lot of people, they don't like being alone. They don't like listening to their thoughts. The minute the mind is so noisy, but depression, we have depressed so many thoughts and so many feelings. No wonder when people come off antidepressants that it's an explosion, can't handle it. But when you take time for yourself, 5 minutes of just meditation, yeah, there'll be so many thoughts coming in, one thought at a time. Eventually, the mind becomes quiet and you can make a decision. I'm just lying down in Savasana. That's a real powerful thing when you can say, this is what I'm doing for me right now. You carry on. No judgment here. You carry on.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. And when you go to a class and a teacher can respect that, you can tell the integrity of that teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been to yoga classes where I get about halfway through and I'm just like, nope, and I'll just sit in child's pose, or I'll lay in shavasana, or, I'll just do some sort of like relaxation pose and like calling it white flag.
Yeah.
Like I'm done.
Okay.
And
I
it's
think,
totally okay.
yeah, I think when we admit to ourselves, and that's like burnout, right? We don't even realize how burnt out we are and we're exhausted, that we just keep going and we keep going. And one day something happens where you slip and fall and you fall on your leg and you can't walk, right? That was the
Yep.
universe telling me you need to take a
Yep.
time out.
Take a break. Yeah.
Take a break. Stop pushing yourself so hard. And you hear it from other people. Why are you killing yourself? Why? And then the universe shows you a sign. I'm like, okay, I need to, well, I can carry on and then I'll cause more injury, or I just have to stop and
Yeah.
listen and do what I can do. You don't have to completely stop, but you can think, okay, what can I do right now, which is going to serve me, which is going to serve my business? What can I do? There's other things you can do, and you don't have to be mad at yourself. You lay down in Savasana, child's pose. You might have to take a break and a breather, and you do what feels right for you. So, doing what feels right, exhausted, burnout, whether it's a decision that you need to make in your life,
Mm.
the breath, taking a moment will help you to decide the right thing for you. Before you even ask somebody else or check on the internet, that checking in with yourself. What can I do right now? And maybe it is just Savasana, maybe it is going and doing a yoga class for 10 minutes, or whatever it is. As long as you know, and people always ask me, well, how do you know? Because it will feel good. It will feel the right thing. You will know because you are the only person that can know what is right for you, right? No one else can ever know.
It-
Even if you have children, you can't know what's right for your children. Even if you have a partner, husband, you can't know what's right for them. Even if you think you do, right?
yeah.
You don't. And I think this is the learning I've had, the growth that I've had is this is right for me and this is right for them. So I've always said to my kids, I'm not always going to agree with you. You're going to do things that I won't like. But if you check in with yourself and you feel it feels good, it feels right. And how do you know? Because it'll feel good. You'll feel inspired. You feel motivated. You're not hurting anybody. You're not hurting yourself. You know it's the right thing for you to do. That gut feeling, the intuition is your gut feeling. And sometimes when we don't follow our gut feeling, we're like, oh my God, I wish I listened to my gut feeling. I
Right.
wish I knew it. I knew that thing about that person. I knew I should have done.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah. So it's learning. It's so much, like you say, yoga, but not even yoga, it's just taking a moment to check in with yourself to see what is the thing for you in that moment, good or bad, whatever it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. Where can people find you if they want to work with you? Now, you're UK based, correct?
I am, at the moment, I am, yes.
Okay. So where can we find you if we want to work with you?
If you want to work with me, well, I'm on Instagram. It's Lina Patel Wellness Ambassador. If you want to find some wellness tips, I publish a blog twice a week. One is a yoga YouTube class, very 10 minutes, and another is mindset. That's at wellnessandwellbeing.org.
Okay.
It's got my online resources
Okay.
on there too.
And I think you gave all those to me, so I will put everything in the show notes so
Wonderful.
everyone will know where to find you. And thank you so much for coming on and talking about such an important topic that, I think right now is needed more than anything. Like I said before, we're just constantly on the go now and overstimulated, and it is really, really helpful to just stop and take a breath.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And on that note, thanks for hanging out with us on Fine, I'll Talk About It. Today's episode got you thinking. Hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you want more real talk, more perspective shifts, and more finally someone said it moments, leave a quick review. It helps other people find the show. You can connect with me on Instagram at Inspired Action Wellness or on my website, inspiredactionwellness.com, for more inspiration like this. We will see you in the next episode.